Okay, so what am I here to talk about? She-rah season 4. One of the best things on TV, even though it's kind of on Netflix. So is it like TV? I don't know. One of the best things. One of the best animations. Like, honestly, since Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, don't come for me. Steven the Last Universe. Steven Universe. Steven the Last Universe. I was putting Last Avatar with Universe together. Okay, Steven Universe fans. Like, I'm a huge Steven Universe fan. Like, it is a good show. But that show is definitely more of just like episode per episode. Like, it's not really a full series. Whereas She-rah, like especially this last season, like that is a soap opera for kids. Now, okay, like disclaimer, I haven't watched the original. Okay, for all of you guys who, I guess some of you might not know, there was an original She-rah. I think she was kind of supposed to be branded together with He-Man, whereas this, so I never watched that, right? So I'm not comparing it to anything. I'm taking it as it is. But like honestly, I feel like the people who did watch that, from what I understand, don't like this new one. But if you're here for season 4, like you are deep into this. Like, what are you even doing here? You know, at season 4, if you didn't like, if you're an original fan and not this series fan. Okay, so getting all the disclaimers out there. Oh my God, this season was so good. Like, personally, I like season 1. Don't get me wrong. Season 1 was good, but I didn't get all this out to talk about it because, like, I mean, it was good, but it was okay, you know. Season 2 was better. I really like season 3, but bro, season 4 is like, oh my God, it is so good. I can't even right now. It's so good. Whew. Okay, so I know I'm too old to be like the real target market for this, but I had to talk about it because I personally, like, I don't actually know anybody in my real life who likes She-rah as much as I do. So I'm hoping I'll find somebody out there who likes She-rah as much as I do, because it's like, it's a soap opera. It's a soap opera in animation form, and it's really good. And as you can see, I'm already inclined to like animation. I like anime. You know, I grew up on anime, and I feel like this show was made for me because I love comedies. I love sad shows too. I love shows with a good, strong female lead. It just, oh man, I don't even know where to start. Okay, and like, can we just talk about where season 3 ended for a second? Because I feel like the reason that season 4 is so good was because of how strong season 3 ended. Okay, and by the way, spoilers galore coming up. Okay, so like, when season 3 ended and Queen Angela sacrificed herself so that everybody else can live, I was like, wow, I did not think they were going to go here, because not that many shows actually have like a major character death in the show, you know, like maybe some random person will die. But this is kind of like the mother figure of the show. You know what I mean? And she survived for 3 entire seasons. And at the end of the last season, she sacrifices herself for everybody. And I was just like, I'm not gonna lie, I actually shed a tear. Just 1 tear. Okay, it was maybe more than a tear. But I actually shed a tear at the end of that season, because I just feel like, wow, that was... And they, like, the execution of it was really good too. And I don't want to say it was cliche, because, you know, every once in a while a parental figure will die in a show like this. Like, I mean, everybody remembers Lion King, right? But rarely do we get attached to the parental figure before they die like this much. Like, even in, I think that's one of the reasons why Steven Universe is unique, because you do eventually get like attached to, you know, Rose Quartz. But in that, I feel like it's cushioned because you know she's dead before she dies, in a way. You know, like, you're introduced to the show with her dead, and then you get to meet her after the fact, which is nice. But here, I mean, she was an integral part of the show up until season 3, up until the last episode of season 3. So it was, so I was so sad. And I think that is why this season is so good, because this entire season is like, it is the emotional repercussions of that. I hate it when shows have like a major death like this and then they don't talk about the emotional repercussions of it. And this show does not do that. If anything, it goes into like a nuanced, okay, it goes into like a nuanced emotional repercussions of that action. And I mean, we start off right off the bat, like basically where we left off, right? So, and by the way, look, I'm saying sacrificed, I'm not saying dead, because I don't think she's dead, and honestly, I think she's gonna come back, especially because of things that happened this season. Like, I honestly think she's coming back. But anyways, let's just talk about this season for a second. The first episode, the coronation. When I saw this episode, I was like, yes, thank you. Because it was what kind of colored the rest of the season for me. This was the episode where they really delved into the emotional repercussions of Angela sacrificing herself. Like, everybody was trying to help Glimmer out. And I think this, one of the reasons why I love this show too, is because they give you kind of like real people emotion. I feel like when somebody loses somebody in their family, sometimes it doesn't affect you personally, you know, as hard, clearly, as it does the person whose family member died. But there's different emotions going on. Like, you want to help that person feel better. And that could be really hard to do, you know, like when you really love somebody and they're going through something like the death of a loved one. How do you make them feel better? You know, like, what can you do? And I feel like this was such a good episode because of that. Like, Glimmer herself was going through this depression, and you see everybody else's attempts to make her feel better, and they're just falling flat. Because this isn't something that you can fix. This isn't something that, like, as a friend, you can really help get over. You know, you just kind of have to, like, be there and let them cry, you know, on your shoulder. And I feel like this was a really good episode because it kind of showed you that they didn't fix everything in one episode. Like, the episode ended with them still feeling sad, especially Glimmer still feeling sad. Like, and I like how they showed you how they kind of failed at making Glimmer feel better, because they're trying so hard, like, not to talk about Angela, and it doesn't work, you know. Like, at the end, Glimmer's like, why are you guys pretending that she's not even here? Like, and Glimmer says that it's disrespectful to not remember her, especially because she needs to grieve. And I love this episode because of that. And not only that, like, low-key, I really, really loved Castaspella in this episode. Like, she's just going full, like, diva, like, you're fired. No, I'm fired. No, why am I fired? I did such a bad job. Like, oh my god, I loved Castaspella in this episode so much. And how she just, like, made the flower guy, like, I know how the flower guy was just introduced as, like, a little random, like, comic relief, but I actually really liked him in just this entire season too. I think he's hilarious and just a cute little, like, addition. I loved him. I loved this episode. And I think that it was just, like, the way they ended the episode was just so cute too, because, you know, Glimmer comes out of her mission victorious, and, you know, everything before had just been so overwhelming to Glimmer. And then she just, like, comes out to this scene where Frosta makes a giant ice sculpture of her and a giant ice sculpture of her mom, and they're holding hands, and it's just like, they get it. They're talking about it. They're acknowledging it, that at the end of the day, like, Angela is just as big a part of this coronation as Glimmer, because if it wasn't for her death, none of this would be happening. So it's not like a funeral, but it kind of felt like they were almost went there, and it was cute. I really loved that moment where you see the two ice sculptures that Frosta made. Like, that was just, oh, I love that. Okay, and then like, I'm not going to go episode by episode, but I really want to talk about that first episode. And I want to talk about the next couple of episodes because I actually really also liked Valley of the Lost, because I feel like the first episode, the coronation, it was such a sad and emotionally gut-wrenching episode that Valley of the Lost was a really fun, more uplifting episode that kind of talked about bullying with Hintara and how, but it didn't, some episodes when they're talking about bullying, they will kind of be like revenge, you know, or like justice. The bully ends up getting bullied really badly and goes away crying, you know what I mean? And then the kid that was bullied is victorious. Whereas in this episode, I think that they were kind of hinting at like a bullying episode because Hintara was bullying, you know, Perfuma. She was bullying Adora, but then she realized that herself by simply the word soft. Like she just, the word was just said to her because she kept saying this word to everybody. And I love how like they didn't hit you over the head with it. Like they just saying the word soft to Hintara made Hintara immediately realize how she was making everybody else feel. And I thought that was really smart and really well done, because I think if you're not looking at it too hard, like it won't seem like a bullying episode and it'll just seem like Hintara's happy that they, you know, saved and did well on the mission. But if you really look into it, you realize that Hintara immediately sees the error in her ways and then like empathizes with it and then apologizes for it, which is amazing. Like, you don't have to humiliate Hintara for Hintara to see what she did was wrong and apologize for it and become a better person. And I really like that, because I feel like sometimes shows that do end up covering bullying just end up making it such a like eye for an eye, and that just seems kind of depressing sometimes. So I liked how they covered it here, and I loved Perfuma. So like, okay, I'm being real, don't come for me. I don't love Perfuma. Like I don't hate her. I just don't love her. I just don't feel like I can. Maybe it's because I can't relate to her. Like, as you can see, I'm not the organic natural type. I'm more of like, I think I relate more to Mermista. And so Perfuma's not my favorite, but this episode, I feel like it was just so easy to relate to her, because I feel like everybody has had that one thing that you hate as your pet peeve, and for her it was cactus. You know, it's just like cactus. She hates cactus, and it's for a good reason. Like it makes sense. They didn't give her something random that she hated, like chewing gum or something. Like that wouldn't go with her personality. I just want to scooch this there. Ah, perfection. So you can see my shirt more. So they didn't like hit you over the head with the whole like she hates cactus, and they gave you a good reason for it. But I loved how they handled it. I thought it was hilarious, and it's because she was hilarious. Like it wasn't like slapstick comedy. It was just like everybody's had that moment where there's something they hate and they could totally relate to Perfuma in that moment, and I loved it. It was so good. And then we get to the episode with, well, I mean, technically you're introduced to Double Trouble in that episode, but Double Trouble really gets to shine in this next episode. And honestly, Double Trouble has to be like my new favorite character. I love everybody in the show. I really do. I feel like everybody has a really well fleshed out, consistent personality, which I love. But I really like how they introduced Double Trouble in this season, because I don't want the seasons to feel repetitive, and the season was going somewhere really serious. So having that comic relief of like Entrapta or Scorpia that are like wholesome, happy, in general, aren't bad people. I understand how they are good characters, but it just didn't seem to fit with the theme of this season. Like, if you thought Catra was going off the rails in that last season, and she was, I mean, she was like, you know, there was a lot going on with Catra. This season, I feel like, is a total, not just mental, I feel like that mental break was last season. This is her spiraling into like a deep depression. and just like, I don't even know what to call it. Like, it's definitely like continuing that break, because it's not like a manic break anymore. I feel like season 3 was like that manic break. Now it's like a depressive break, and I'm so here for it. But just, I feel like what they had written for Entrapta and Scorpia, that just wouldn't have flown as like the comic relief of this season. So that's why I love Double Trouble so much, because he has like this dark humor that really went with like the gravitas of what was going on in this season. And I loved it. Like, just all of this like double crossing, and he has like this perfect mix of like sassiness that infuriates everybody and just pushes them even closer and closer to like desperation. And I don't know how they could have like injected freshness also in the fighting, in the confrontation between the Horde and the Rebellion better than when Double Trouble, because, you know, just going like, I beat this battle, well, I beat this battle, like just going back and forth like that can get old. But having this like, oh, it's, you know, because they have this intelligence, they're gonna go and put bait out, you know, and they're gonna try to bait each other. Like, that was really smart. And I feel like the only way that you could bait each other like that was having this spy. And Double Trouble, they just nailed it with his character. That episode where he's introduced as Flutterina, that was an okay episode. I didn't love the way, like, I would say the last act of it, where they beat Catra with like confetti cannon. I didn't like that. But before that, like right before that, where Adora just has this huge head, and she's like, oh, there's Horde soldiers, there's a Horde robot, I'm gonna go get it by myself, it's fine, I got this. I thought where they were gonna go with that was that Adora was not gonna be able to beat the robot, and that she was gonna have to fall back and then like evacuate everybody, and then they were gonna get caught up in the battle. You know, I thought that's what they were going with it. I was not expecting her to beat the robots and then come back to just like an empty, just like destroyed party. If this wasn't a kid's show, I honestly think they probably would have like added dead bodies in there, or like somebody also dying and be like, oh, why did you leave us? You know, like, and that would have been awesome. I honestly think that would have been really cool. But I think like it's kind of implied. You know what I mean? It's kind of implied a little bit. I think that's what kind of separates this one from Avatar: Last Airbender, because I do think Avatar: Last Airbender showed more death and like what war can do, whereas this one sometimes it feels like it's not shown. You know, like if this is as brutal as they're making it out to be, there would be more suffering in a way. So I think that's why I didn't like this episode in particular as much. But you know, you gotta take it as it is. And I honestly think this season gets better as it goes. I think that the next episode with the spiders, though, protocol, I swear I'm not gonna go into every episode, I'm almost done. That next episode with the spiders, though, protocol, oh my god, it was so funny. So, you know, when Light Hope, she just like kind of goes into a reboot, I guess. Yeah, it's a reboot. And she's like, guess what? I just learned how to make spiders. And then giant spiders appear, and Dora's like, why did you do that? I loved it so much. It was so funny. It was, I loved it. And then, because it was like a creepy episode, and I personally love creepy episodes, but it was so funny too. And then like Hope's all like, oh, you don't like the spiders? It's okay. Psh, I mean, see, spiders can't swim. And then they start trying to attack her, you know, and then like Hope's like, Adora, what happened? I thought you can swim. And Adora says, I can't swim. I just can't fight spiders and swim at the same time. I love that episode. It was one of my favorite episodes, especially because of that ending. Like, I always thought that something was up with this entire thing, because they keep mentioning in the show that Mara had gone crazy, and I always felt like that was wrong. Like, that couldn't be right, because this show is such like a female empowering show, that saying that the most powerful, you know, woman of the show went crazy because, you know, of power, because she couldn't mentally handle all the power or something. I just feel like cliche. I was like, man, are they really gonna go there? Because it's kind of how they go with everything. Like, that's literally where they're going with Scarlet Witch, you know? Like, she's the most powerful character, and now she's gonna go crazy. Like, Harley Quinn, she's so powerful, and now she's crazy. You know, like, Jean Grey, she's so powerful, and now she's crazy. I was like, really? They're gonna go there? I didn't think so. I was like, they're not gonna go there. I feel like it's something, like, this is the normal slandering that they give the powerful ladies, when really it's something else. And that's what it was. And I was not expecting Light Hope to be the, like, evil thing. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, when that last scene where she had, right after she had shown all that vulnerability, right after she had shown how much she cared about Mara, and then she was completely rebooted back to what she had been earlier, and she's like, oh, I wasn't supposed to have this memory. Permanently delete. And it just kind of like, it shows you like, yeah, she was evil. She's not right. Something's up. That's not, she does not have Adora's best intentions at heart. And then also because she's like a first person's tech, that's like, it also makes you like, okay, what exactly were they trying to do? You know, like, who's the good guy in this entire situation? Because I always thought like something was off, but I didn't think they were gonna like flat out make the first people the bad people. And now I'm wondering if the first people have anything to do with the Horde, because if they were trying to use Etherea's power as a weapon, well, against who? You know what I mean? So I'm starting to think that either they were the Horde, or they were fighting the Horde and lost and were desperate. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this show goes. And then after this, I think my least favorite episode was Mer Mysteries, because it was just too silly. I think that the whole the novel series that Mermista was into was a little bit too silly and kitschy. I didn't like it. I think that every single time they mentioned like an episode, or I guess a book in the series, every single time they mentioned anything of that, it just seemed too silly for how serious the show had been. But then She-Ra comes in, and I feel like he just rescued that episode for me. When he talks about how he, like, his recollection of what happened, I was just like, yes, I'm here for it now. Yeah, that was, thank you. His like over the top anime recollection, and then he's so happy when he sees Mermista, and Mermista does the whole damsel in distress, like, my hero. It's so, I don't know how, it's like, it's so traditionally anime. It's like, it's making fun of traditional anime. He's like in that beat 300 people, I punched them all. It's like, it's so, again, it's like a parody. I loved it. And just, I honestly think that She-Ra is another one of my favorite characters, because when he's like, and now do you want to see me squat? Oh my god, I don't know what to say. She-Ra, I love She-Ra. He was just such a good character. I think if it hadn't been for him, this entire episode would only have been like okay. I also really liked Bo in this episode. I feel like I would have been Bo if I had been in that specific situation. Be like, it must have been me. Take me away. You know, I love that. I guess another reason why I didn't like this episode, though, is because the ending where they, you know, were trying to catch Flutterina red-handed, I felt like that it was too obvious. The minute they said that they had a backup communicator in the war room, I was just like, yeah, no, this is a trap. They're gonna trap Flutterina, or double trouble, you know. I think I would have preferred if they had figured it out through like logic or something, or just given me something a little bit less obvious. I know that it's supposed to be more of a kid's show, but I feel like you could have done something smarter than that. You know, that was just them fighting. To me, that was obvious that they were just acting. And I mean, I say that, but at the same time, I liked how Double Trouble was like, oh, that fight, that acting was so good. That must have come from a place of real emotion, wasn't it? I do like that. Again, I actually think that from this episode on, the focus is a lot more on the relationship between Glimmer and Adora. And I actually really like that. I think from here on out, the season just got so much stronger because of the emotion that they really focus on. You know, like the moment where Glimmer says that her mother would still be here if Adora wasn't here. Like, that was such a strong statement in the entire show. Like, I think Glimmer is wrong, personally. I think she shouldn't have said that. But I understand why she said that. She wasn't there. She didn't see what happened. All she knew is that She-rah was with her mom, and then her mom sacrificed herself. And all of this extraterrestrial stuff, the Horde really just going at them, it just got worse, you know, when She-rah was part of their team. And I don't think that's Adora's fault. I really don't. But I can see why Glimmer would say that. And it's one of those things where I know why she said it. I actually think it was important for her to say, because this entire season, you kind of felt like you felt friction between them. So it was kind of like implied that they weren't doing good because of this, because of something similar. So again, I'm glad that they did add that in. It also made, I think, for a really good insight into Glimmer. That being said, I don't think Adora is completely absolved from the issues that she's having with Glimmer, because I think that Adora was personally not treating Glimmer the way she should be treating Glimmer. Like, Glimmer is a queen now. Glimmer is supposed to be Adora's queen. And the entire time, Adora was so aggressive with what she wanted. She's like, okay, we have to go do this now. Let's go. Instead of the way maybe like Shadow Weaver was talking to Glimmer. Shadow Weaver is like, my queen, I think we should do this. What do you think? Adora never did that. Adora was straight up like, I'm going to give the shots. I'm going to give the orders. And I think part of that could be because in the previous seasons, Adora had always been the strongest member on the team. But I just really love this season because they're not even focusing on Adora that much. They really focus on Glimmer. And honestly, I don't think Adora is the strongest member anymore. I think that's Glimmer. And that's really interesting because, like, Glimmer, she's the queen now. She just newly became this super strong, capable character. But she's not really supposed to fight. And it's a really interesting dynamic. I loved it. And I think all of this, like, the entire season kind of just culminates in the whole on Beast Island. You know, like, I don't know why I didn't see it before. Like, duh, they're going to bring back King Micah, right? Like, of course they were going to. Especially because I feel like in season 3, in that fake reality, like, there was something going on with Micah where I'm like, I don't know. Something seems fishy. Like, it doesn't seem like he's really faking, you know what I mean? And then, boom, here we are. You know, Be Silent. And he's real. And I'm just like, what? What? I also really like, he's like, Bug? Oh, God, I loved him. I loved everything about those episodes. That was the only time that this season really made me shed a tear was with King Micah, too, because I feel like there's a lot going on with him in general that just gets, like, it's quickly gone through in this season. But that one moment where they're in the, like, vines of despair and Adora reaches out to King Micah and she's all like, give me your hand. And then King Micah does. And then she's like, don't give into it. You need to come back. You need to go back to Glimmer. You need to help her be queen. And then he's like, queen? What? Wait, that means that. And then, like, he doesn't say exactly that Queen, Angela is dead. And I think that's because they're avoiding saying that because she's not really dead and she's going to come back. But, he, like, that's the moment he lets the depression take over. And that was such a good moment. Like, I like how they didn't overdo it, because that could have been overdone. But it's still a strong moment. And I was totally here for that. I feel like that's a lot, to learn that you've been there for so many years, that you've missed your daughter growing up, and that your wife isn't there anymore. Like, that's rough. And I think that they did that really well. I love that they brought him back too, because that's going to give us such a really interesting, spicy season 5. No idea what's going to happen. I think it's also really interesting because like, we ended with Adora, like, she broke her sword, so she can't really use her sword anymore. And we know that Glimmer can't use her powers. But I think what's going on here is that Glimmer can't use her powers because she's not on Etheria. She's on the spaceship. So I think technically her powers only work on Etheria because she's a princess and needs a runestone. I think that Adora is still She-rah. She just needs to relearn how to use her powers. Because they kept saying in that episode with Madame Raz that She-rah was there before, First People tech and all that kind of stuff, and that the sword was just a way to, like, channel it. So I definitely think she's going to get her powers back. But what's interesting is going to be King Micah in this season 5, because his powers are not tied to a brimstone, not that I know of. So I think he's going to be the strongest character coming into season 5, because he's supposed to be, like, the super strong sorcerer. So I wonder if maybe, what's going to happen with him and, like, Shadow Weaver, because it seems like Shadow Weaver knows more and is more connected to the Horde than they really told us, because she knew about, she knew about Adora. But I'm confused to what's going to happen. Like, I don't think she's going to switch sides, but I'm not certain she won't. And if she doesn't switch sides and she teams up with the rebellion with King Micah, like, they could actually be a pretty powerful duo. That being said, I really don't know where they're going to take season 5, because it seems like again, one of the things I really liked about She-rah that reminds me of Avatar, it is that they make you feel that urgency that the world is really ending. I like Steven Universe. He didn't give me that urgency. Like, every once in a while it was like things aren't going well, but he never made me feel like we're all gonna die. And that's something that I'm kind of feeling now. Like, I don't know where they're gonna go with this, because the Horde is just so many of